Hi, this is Melinda, and you're listening to the Haitian FREE Thinkers radio show.
Every human culture has a set of creation myths, but they're in the realm of mythology or religion or folklore, and they are, of course, all mutually inconsistent. The great thing is every human culture has a set of creation myths. Has a set of creation myths. Every human culture has a set of creation myths.
Yeah.
Has a set of creation myths.
This is costless rap. Jews hear my music and run out the room like Holocaust is back. Europeans say that block can rap.
Good evening, everybody. This is Reggie, and you're listening to the Haitian FREE Thinkers radio show. Tonight is November the 7th of 2016. This is the day before the Tuesday of the elections, the presidential elections for 2016, and I've been fortunate to be joined by Mr. Reginald Finley, otherwise known as the Infidel Guy. The music in the background is Myth by Grading Square, so I'm just letting that ride a little bit till the end. Tonight, we're starting at 8:30 p.m. Haitian Free Thinkers, for those of you who don't know, is one of the world's few groups for Haitians who are secular people. You can find us on our website, which is HaitianFreeThinkers.org, but the group primarily is on Facebook. And we have a page, we have the group. So if you wish to join, simply just search for Haitian Free Thinkers, find the group, send a request, and I'll write you back, and I'll let you in the group if you are interested in us. So to speak to myself or the guest, you can call in the guest call-in number, which is 657-383-1619. Once again, that's 657-383-1619. The show is scheduled for about 2 hours, but we may do 30 minutes to an hour, depending how things go. So for those of you who don't know who Mr. or the Infidel Guy is, I'll let him give a quick bio of who he is.
All right. Well, thank you, Reggie, for having me. Of course, my name is Reggie as well. I'm more well known as the Infidel Guy. At least that's what they call me since 1999. But yeah, I started the Infidel Guy show right around 1999, and I was first involved. I got involved in skepticism right around 1996 or so, and I decided that I was a non-theist right around that same time, and I didn't really know anybody else that was a free-thinking atheist and humanist, especially one of my complexion at that time. And so I started doing some digging online and discovered that there were a few programs out there where people were broadcasting and discussing free thought. And so I decided that I wanted to get involved in that as well. And but before that took hold, I actually worked as a psychic for the Psychic Network for a little while. And that really honed my skills in skepticism. And but then shortly after that, to basically undo my wrongs, I decided to start my own broadcast talking about philosophy and science and critical thought. And the show took off, and at its heyday, I had hundreds of thousands of listeners all around the world. And after YouTube came out, and let's be honest, I just kind of lost the motivation, as there was just so much material out there. And I kind of lost the passion for it, and I decided to go back and get my education, and disappeared for a little while, and now I'm involved in many, many other things.
Wow. I knew a little bit about your background, but I did not know that you worked for the Psychic Network, is it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, sure did. I responded to an ad in the paper. It was a counseling. I was looking for another job. I was looking for a part-time job at the time, and it said, looking for counselors, no experience needed. I said, I can do that. So I responded to the ad, and unfortunately I got lost trying to find the place I was looking for. And And when I got there, I told the coordinator, I said, I'm sorry, I was lost. If I were psychic, though, I really would have found the place. And nobody laughed. They looked at me like they wanted to kill me. But that's how I started. And when they explained how it worked and everything, I said, well, and they pretty much admitted that the people that call in are people who think that you're the real deal anyway. So pretty much your job is to steer them, and help them. But, of course, they had certain laws they had to follow. Like if someone was suicidal, you had to make sure you give them support numbers to counseling, police, and stuff like that, so that that wouldn't legally affect the company. But yeah, I wrote an article as well that was translated in many different languages all over the world, talking about my time with the psychic network and what I learned about humans and human psychology, I should say, and how the psychic network works and how they fool themselves.
I think that is extremely, extremely interesting. I think we can spend a whole lot on that alone, because it reminded me of my time doing when I first was starting to work. I worked for this company called PRC back in South Florida. I'm from Miami, and PRC was a large group that housed different accounts to take inbound and outbound calls for different companies such as Taco Bell, DirecTV, etc. It was not in the psychic business, but I interacted with individuals from all over the country, and that was a wide, eye-opening experience for me as a young man, because I was either selling them something or I was trying to resolve their issue. And so that interaction really was a good experience for me. So, and I also kind of saw like ethics in action or the lack thereof. And when you're on the inside, you kind of learn certain things that the general public does not. So, I'm a person that is very much interested in human psychology, which is why I think I'm borderline obsessed with religion, even though I'm an atheist. So that's interesting background. So around 1996, I think you said that's when you started to kind of understand that you were an atheist. Is that correct?
Yes, around 1996, I actually went to college. I started going to St. Leo College, and as you know, that's originally I think it's a Catholic university, and I took a course called The Philosophy of Atheism, and I was actually recommended that course by the dean at the time because he just found my interest in philosophy intriguing, and he wanted to kind of push me. And so I took that course, and that was pretty much the straw that broke the camel's back, because it was George H. Smith's book, Atheism, The Case Against God. I recommend your listeners, if you want somebody that truly just speaks plainly, simply, and just breaks it down, I mean, he basically had the courage to talk about things that I knew in the back of my head, but I couldn't really talk about those things outwardly. And it just opened my mind to realize there are just different ways to view God or gods and the supernatural. And it just woke me up. And I later tried to share that information with peers and family and friends and whatnot. And I was naive. I was young. I was around 23 or so at the time, 22. I didn't know. They rejected me. I lost almost every single friend I thought I had. I had family members turn on me. I had people treat me like I was just Satan incarnate, and all I was doing is asking questions at that age, at that time, because I wasn't really sure yet of everything. I was just asking questions, and I was rejected so harshly. And now I understand now that it was really fear, but back then I didn't quite understand where all this vitriol and hate was coming from, And then shortly after that, I began discovering there were others like me out there. I just had to seek them out. And you're talking back then, I mean, all you had was like AOL chat. It's like, you have IRC chat room, that was about you didn't really have a lot back then. And but that journey led me to find the Atheism, Freedom, Liberation show that was the creation of Jake. He called himself back then AFL Jake, and I asked him, how do you do this? And he actually showed me the ropes. And again, my show took off in 1999, and I did that for about 10 solid years, off and on, producing over 500 shows. And in fact, my site is still up at infidelguy.com if anyone wants to look at some of the archives.
There was the Atheist Freedom Liberation Show. Is that what you said?
Yeah, he called it the Atheism Freedom Liberation Show. It's no longer in existence, but he and I founded the Atheist Network together. I think that is still up, atheistnetwork.com. We founded that together. And actually, over the course of 15 years, he and I, we've created maybe at least 30 different websites, all dedicated to humanism, free thought, critical thinking, rationality, etc. And yeah.
Okay, so I'm writing down notes as you talk, because this is epic for me. You gotta understand. So I got George H. Smith, The Case Against God. I found that online. The Atheist, it's an Atheist Freedom Liberation Show.
Yes, it's no longer. He's no longer doing the program though. However, but that's what got me started actually.
Okay.
Listening to his program, I got impatient because he wasn't airing enough. So I asked him, how do you do this? And back then we were using real media technology. This is way before there was such a thing called podcasting. Back then it was just called streaming media or streaming MP3s or streaming real audio, and that's what we used. And we used websites to we could stream through HTTP protocol, or anyway, I don't want to get too technical for some of the technical folks out there might know what I'm talking about, but we use a lot of different methods to get our message out there. And again, it was very, very quite successful. And considering someone who was just a young, black guy who didn't really know much of anything other than my passion, for learning. I had no formal education. I didn't have any formal education in media. It didn't do too bad.
Right. I think you did really, really good. You are one of the people that steered me towards being the person that I am today. However small way it is, I'm very grateful for everything that you've done. So it's very understandable how intimidating that this process can be, and how discouraging it can be sometimes, because what I'm doing, I think, is it seems like, it's like talking on an island. Like I don't know what return I'm going to get on this investment, because the show is not necessarily popular. I do have the advantage of having some free or low-cost tools at my disposal, but it's very important to me. It's my passion, and so I truck on. So you did really, really well.
I'm glad to help. That's why I was there. and if I may, really quickly, I hate to stop your thought there, but I'm reminded of when I first started this. Like I said, I didn't know any other black free thinkers, atheists, and humanists at all. There was no one. The only one person I knew was Norm Allen Jr. At that time, he was with Paul Kurtz's organization, and he was the only guy I knew. And so I created blackatheist.com, blackfreethinkers.com. I created quite a number of websites, and there was just hardly no one around. I created a Yahoo group called Black Free Thinkers. I think that's still in existence. I created that group, and I think there are thousands of members of that now. But, there was nobody. And so it wasn't until after I stopped my radio program is when I noticed there was this blossoming of groups popping up everywhere. I was like, where did all these people come from? And so it wasn't until later I was getting all these emails saying, hey, I'm a black free thinker. I was listening to your radio show. I was like, dude, you never emailed me before. Like, I didn't even know hardly anyone was listening. And a lot of these folks this is what they say, they credited me because I jumped off the air and motivated them to start their own things. And so a lot of groups out there started their own organizations because they were fans of my radio program as well in the past. So that was very, very humbling to hear that, and it's pretty awesome. So, and ironically, me stopping doing the show helped motivate a lot of other people to start their programs and organizations. Funny enough.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the way it is, and every now and then on my side, I get a message or something like that from individuals in the Haitian community saying that, you know what, they've heard it or they know about it, and so it's I'm rounding those cats, trying to get a better idea of how big the demographic is for what I'm trying to do. So now it's 2016, and I'm trying to kind of put myself in your shoes to see why was there such a vacuum or lack of secular people that you knew of, not just people of color, I'm assuming, but in general.
Right.
Is it the area that you lived in? You think that was just the zeitgeist of the times? It just wasn't a thing, and not kind of more.
You know what? It's so weird. It may have just not been the right time for a lot of people. As you know, we're pretty much very social people, and it's only been, as far as I know, very recently where I see a lot more independence among us. A lot more standing up regardless of criticism. I'm seeing a lot more confidence in independent thought, and there wasn't a lot of that. I remember getting hundreds of emails when I was doing the radio show from many in-the-closet black agnostics and black free thinkers whose wives were Christian, and they would go to church every Sunday, and they were like, I don't know how to tell my wife this, and so I think maybe now it's just a time. There are tons of free-thinking dating services now out there. We can just so much more easily now get in contact with each other and discover and find each other just through LinkedIn searches and Facebook searches and Google searches, you know what I mean? So we didn't have all that at our disposal 10 years ago. It was non-existent. And so now we have that, and I think, it's just given us that confidence that, you know what, I can meet a significant other that's free thinking. I can, or as we get older, some of us, we just mature and don't care that much. We don't care what anybody believes. I know pretty much I'm that way now as I've gotten older. I'm pretty much live and let live now. I wasn't that way a decade ago, but I am more so now. I'm non-militant. I'm like, look, believe what you may, just don't hurt anybody. And that's pretty much my philosophy, and so I think that's what's taken foot here. And I think we need a lot more solid, intelligent, mature free thinkers out there, really helping guide and lead some of our youth, because I'm really concerned about them, and we can probably talk more about that as well.
Okay, we definitely can. For those of you who are listening live, this is the Haitian Free Thinkers radio show. My name is Reggie, and lo and behold, I'm interviewing another Reggie, Reginald Finley. He is the Infidel Guy. I was going to say the atheist guy. The Infidel Guy. This is the Haitian Free Thinkers radio show here on Blog Talk Radio. You can call in live. The guest call-in number is 657-383-1619. Once again, that's 657-383-1619. We understand that for whatever reason you may not be listening live, so you can remember or save that number for next time. I announced the shows on Facebook. It's only because of scheduling conflicts and trying to line things up that this show may not be as regular as it should be or will be. But you can catch the show using iTunes. It's on Stitcher. It's on Google Play. I've spread it out there, so just search for it. You'll find old shows. This is show number 80. We have a website, HaitianFreeThinkers.org, and so we're benefiting from all the work that the pioneers have done. So here we are. Our job, or my goal, is to gather or get in touch with as many Haitian secular people that there are out there, if possible, and also at the same time be like an ambassador to the Haitian believers out there, because there's a lot of them. Obviously we're a minority right now, but I think most people have had at least one or more questions in the back of their minds to know some of the things that I think I take for granted at this point in my life. So yeah, that's what it is. Gosh, the youth. They're called the millennials, and you're currently a teacher. Is that correct?
That is correct. Last year I taught biology at a high school here in Florida, and this year I'm teaching at another high school. I'm teaching marine biology and chemistry.
Both fascinating subjects, and high school is a fascinating time. I'll give you a little backdrop on myself. I went to New Orleans. I was in New Orleans Middle School when a science teacher named Ronald Parks made two science teachers made an impact on me. Ronald Parks was a Vietnam veteran, and he said something that I never forgot. He said, look at the clock. He said that we as human beings have only been here for about 5 minutes. And I remember thinking to myself, like, that's not what we learn in church. Like, I'm a really weird person in that, like, I actually listen to these things, and when people say certain things, I tend to follow up on what they're saying. And I really, like, in retrospect, I kind of feel like he was kind of hampered by what he could and could not say. But yeah, you know, he was able to drop some dimes. And I remember doing like a very small science project, and I just was in love with the whole thing. And had I known what I know now, like, I felt like young Reggie could have been shepherded in a certain way, and I could have been more like Neil deGrasse Tyson. You know, if I hung around those people, which some people call nerds, man, I could have been in the tech industry. I could have been in the valley somewhere. I mean, you know, I'm just saying. But this guy, he made an impression on me. And the other science teacher was, oh gosh, I forgot her name, but she is what some people might call today a hippie. But she introduced me to environmental issues, and again, something that I felt like was so important, and I was very much, my hair was on fire, as they say, and I was like, why isn't everybody recycling? This is a very important topic. So teachers, at least for me, do make a very big difference, so thank you very much. But at the same time, when I got into high school, I did get caught up in the being cool thing, you know, like I was more concerned about, you know, my social status, right. And I ended up not being the shining star that I could have been. So how do you handle that kind of thing, and are the kids still in that state of mind, trying to basically?
Well, of course. Okay, in any public school, you can always get that, right? Yeah, it's always people competing for who's the most likes and who's the prettiest and who's the coolest and who can lift the most weights and who can do the most push-ups, which is usually me. But that's what you see a lot of it. I tried my best to inspire the students, and what I did was much like you mentioned what your teacher does. I try to do that with my students. I give them those little zingers, those little facts, those little things that they have never heard of before to really get them interested and to drive that passion and curiosity. Many of them and parents email me all the time saying, wow, you know, my son or my daughter has this new passion or this reignited passion in science that they haven't had in years, you know, and they're like, what are you doing? And the reality is I'm just bringing up reality to them in a very open and free way. I let them give me their opinions. We analyze and discuss their opinions. I don't put them down. I try to show that there's value in all of our thinking. And they seem very open to this. And I've done it in the private school sector and the public school sector. And the students seem to really be drawn to having a teacher that's open. I never tell my students, nope, wrong, you're just wrong. You know, and I let them express themselves. And I think some teachers aren't very patient. Some may not be. And it helps to be patient and understanding and open and allowing your students to share. And so I think that's what they like. I have a segment that I call the organism of the day. So I expose them to new, weird, freaky, and creepy organisms they've probably never heard of or ever seen before, showing them our wonderful biodiversity on our planet. And also, as you talked about the environment, and I bring that into play as well, and how we need to preserve and take care of this planet. It's the only one we know of. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson says, we're not going to live on Mars. We're not going to Mars. This is our home. And we're destroying it by leaps and bounds as if there's a bottomless pit, that we can just throw everything into. And we don't understand that it goes nowhere but on this planet. So I talked to my students about that, and they really have all said that have opened their minds up in many different ways. And not just science. We cover philosophy as an aside, like through critical thinking. Like, how do you know what you know? How do you know that you're right? How do you verify that you're right? And how do you be unbiased as a researcher? And so we talk about those things, and the students are very quickly seeing how that spills over into the way they look at claims on the internet, how they look at politics as well. And I think we need more of that. I think when you see critical thinking in the curriculum, they're not talking about the same kind of critical thinking I'm talking about. Okay, you know what I mean? It's different. I mean, I really, it's more than just trying to fit the yellow star into the star circle, into the star thing on the box. It's deeper than that. I'm asking questions such as, why do you do that? The who, what, when, where, why, and how. That's what we were all taught as little kids. And I've noticed, and you probably can verify this, that seems to disappear the older you get. You don't hear as much critical thought and reflection about those things when you get older. You just start kind of buying into your own biases, and we don't question ourselves as much as we should.
I think that's 100% right. And my hypothesis is that it was kind of designed that way. I found out later on as an older person that how the school system is designed, why it's designed for. I myself, I have the educators within me. It's like second nature to me. I want to basically kind of do what you're doing. Then I went to a counselor, and basically I learned about all the red tape and all the stuff that you have to go through to kind of, in my opinion, freely be who I feel like I could be. And I felt like, I don't know, it wasn't good for me at the moment. So I'm very much, I think what you're doing is beyond excellent, and it sounds like you're doing exactly what I would want to do. The thing I would want to ask about the young people in your situation is that, like, when I went to college and I got introduced to critical thinking via philosophy, because I took philosophy, luckily, in my junior college years, I said to myself, like, why couldn't this be taught to me earlier? Like, it seems to me like the powers that be feel like certain subjects are not
agreed,
are not good for younger people, and I think that's
right.
completely the opposite. Because, had I been introduced to some of the concepts, to some of the people, to some of the books, to some of the, and we have a lot more access nowadays, I would have been out of religion, and I would have been a totally different person earlier. So what do you think about that?
Right. I mean, well, there's no doubt that kids can absorb more than people realize. It really just depends on how well you know what it is you're talking about and how you deliver it to that child. I always criticize, for instance, people that teach their children that Santa Claus exists, and I get lashed back on this all the time from parents who they really try to justify why it's okay to lie to their kids, and I'm like, why do you do that? It's not like it's necessary, and I think you're setting your kids up to believe in fantasy for one, and you're also teaching your kids that it's okay to lie, to your children, just if it makes them feel good. I mean, I think it's a horrible precedent, and I think that this world and our reality is just as beautiful and precious as our fantasies if we know where to look. And that is something that I'm trying to do as an educator, show them where all this beautiful stuff is, all this amazing stuff in science that they don't get exposed to every day, right? Of course, they all get exposed to Rudolph and Santa and Casper and all these cartoons and all the Powerpuff Girls. They get exposed to that every single day. But there are just as many, in my opinion, amazing things out there in our world of reality. And it's okay to have fantasy, but you need to know what is fantasy, not believe that is true. I was explaining to my students the other day that I'm open about who I am philosophically. I tell them I'm a skeptic. And I told my students, is like, look, I can go to a movie. I can watch a horror movie. I can watch the most scariest thing people say is scary. I can be in there flipping out like everybody else. At the end of the movie, when I walk out, I know that none of that exists in the real world. I said, if you can't do that, I said, then you need to really reassess how you look at what reality is and what reality isn't, because you should be able to leave that at the door. If you can't do that, then start thinking more deeply about how you analyze evidence and many of my students were like, wow, you know what, you're right, I do that, and I said, well, you're more prone then to magical thinking as well then, because if you can be that emotionally taxed or that emotionally convinced after that is all over with, you may be more prone to believing all kinds of things. And in my experience, that's what I've kind of noticed. So people who tend to drag that home typically are more prone to believe in other kind of wild things. And so I think that's why. So I think it's a protective mechanism to make sure that early on we teach our children what reality is and what is not, so that they form a defense against these kinds of things, so that they aren't prone to believe in the unprovable.
Okay. Back in school, we had 6 periods of about 50 minutes each, and then we went to block scheduling. Do you use block scheduling? Because I want to know if you have enough time to really.
Yeah, we do now. Yeah. At this private school I'm in, actually we do. We have block schedules. Yep.
Okay, so you get about an hour and a half, 2 hours?
90 minutes.
Okay, 90 minutes. Okay, cool. That's more than enough time.
Exactly. That's why I love their school. I'm teaching at, by the way. But yeah, yep, plenty of time.
Okay, so does everybody know about you being the Infidel Guy? Does that affect you in any way?
You know what? That's one thing I love about my principal at this school. She straight up told me, she's a Christian herself, goes to church religiously every Sunday, and she told me straight up, look, I looked you up online, is this going to be a problem? And I said, look, I'm all about the science. I said, I've matured a lot over the years since my 20s. I'm now 42, and, I want to improve the world by improving the way children see the world and understand science's role in it and how they can also contribute science ideas and make this world a better place. And she loved that response. She said, that's what I'm talking about, and they brought me on right away. And I was taken aback because that's the first time that I know of that anyone who's known of my background brought me on board like that. So I really give her huge kudos for that. But the whole school is very diverse, though. I mean, we have teachers who have, they're open about their beliefs, and nobody cares. I mean, I love it. So as far as I know, I'm the only non-theist teacher there, but there are students who have come straight up, come up to me and says, you know what, I'm glad you're here. First of all, you're a male. Second, you're a black male. Third, you're a non-theist. You're an atheist. And so I've had students say they love that because they don't get that. They may be coming from very conservative households, or their parents may be closed-minded or something, so they like having someone that they can feed ideas off of, and they know that I'll give them the most objective and most unbiased, if I can, explanation or comment, to what they're saying, and I can back it up with no emotion. And so they like that. So I have a really cool principal, and I'm glad to be there. And I didn't think I was going to find anything. It's been a struggle over the years. Like I said, when I decided to stop doing the Infidel Guy show, I was just burned out. 500 shows. I was tired, burned out. I had family issues going on. My mom was sick. She later died, and so I was just burned out. I said, you know what, I want to start my own business, and I need to go back to school, and that's what I did.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you're doing good and everything is working out. You said private school, so I'm curious to hear about the demographics of the school, because when I think of private school, I think of exclusive and socioeconomic barriers, and so a lot more people could potentially benefit from you just doing the same kind of thing in a different setting that's less exclusive. So what would you say as far as the students are concerned? What's the demographics look like from what you observed?
Well, I don't want to get too many details about this school because I don't really have permission to discuss this school in depth through my principal. But what I can say is that it is a school for students with unique abilities or uniqueness, special abilities, and these are but these kids are just amaze me. I mean, since day one, their level of conversation, their maturity, their intelligence, and their compassion and passion for learning is just over the top, blowing me away, because I didn't really experience that much in public school. I experienced a lot of, I don't really care. Let me just do this and get through this so that I can graduate. And here I'm not getting that. I'm getting they want to be there. But I think what helps do that is the fact that my school allows me freedom in the way I design my curriculum. They say, look, you can copy and paste from this county if you want to, or you can design a curriculum yourself. Just make sure you refer back to the standards, make it yours, and make sure the kids are learning. And when they gave me that freedom, I was able to make sure I include the Florida standards, but also give them more. I can now go more in depth about those things that I did not have time to do before, in public school. And so, I'm happy so far with how things are turning out. 90-something% of my students just love me as a teacher, and we're all learning from each other. And I think that's the key, and that's one of the flaws I think we have with the public school system, is that teachers don't really have a lot of flexibility with the curriculum. There's a lot of mistrust there between the state and the county and the teachers themselves, because of, and I can't blame them. There have been a lot of bad issues. We're talking litigation issues. We're talking, teachers not doing what they're supposed to do, and failing, bad testing, bad test scores, and all these various things. So I can understand why the state wanted to kind of grab that by the reins and try to get everybody to fall in line and in step to make sure that the kids are getting what they need. But the problem is every student is unique, and you need a teacher that's very flexible. But only a teacher can be really flexible then to deal with this unique and wide variety of students is allow them a curriculum that gives them flexibility. And so for me, that helps, because I can go up and down the scale. I can slow it down. I can do it again. And I don't feel rushed. Like, I got to get this unit done before this end of this month, or my kids are going to be behind. I don't feel that pressure. I wait. If they don't have it, they don't have it. You know what I mean? And I'll keep going over it until they get it. When I feel confident they have the foundation, and then I can move on to some other stuff. So, but anyway, we can talk about the public education system, for the flaws there. But I think that's one big part of how we're failing our kids in the public sector, is that we don't have a lot of flexibility in the curriculum. And I know that the new generation of science standards are trying to help, but I think that they may be hoping for something that's just not there. If you can't, passion is something that's difficult to teach another teacher. And if you don't have a teacher that's passionate about their topic, and again, if they don't have the flexibility to move up and down, the scale and really, really, share that passion with students, it becomes tedious. And if you feel like you're in shackles, it just doesn't become an enjoyable experience. And the students detect that, and they feel that, and that becomes an environment that they don't want to be in.
Wow. That's if we had more teachers like that, the world would be a whole different place. I want to remind everybody once again that you're listening to the Haitian Free Thinkers radio show. My name is Reggie. You're also listening to Reginald Finley. So if you are out there in space, you want to call in, speak to myself or Reggie. The guest calling number is 657-383-1619. And once again, that's 657-383-1619. If you have messages or questions or concerns after the fact, you can email us at HaitianFreeThinkers@gmail.com. That's HaitianFreeThinkers@gmail.com. I've also set up a Google Voice number, which you can call or text. That number is 678-820-9474. So I'm trying to leave no stone unturned, if you will, to have give everybody the opportunity to reach out and talk to us. So when you were growing up, you grew up in a religious environment, and I'm assuming you're a Christian. Is that correct?
You know what? It's really interesting. I actually grew up in a free thinking home. My mom said that we have our religious background was Episcopalian Methodist, the Black Episcopalian Methodist Church, and on one side of the family, and they were really more like Methodist and Baptist on the other. And whenever I had questions about religion, my mom always told me, look it up. That's just what my mom used to say. I said, Mom, what's Easter? She said, look it up. She said, I didn't buy these encyclopedias. She'd ask me all these questions. And so that's how my mom raised me, to do my own research and look things up. So I guess it seems kind of natural for me. Unfortunately, many kids are not growing up in that environment. They're growing up in, I'm either the expert and I'm going to tell you my biased view, or I'm going to tell you I don't know, and that ceases the conversation. So there's no doubt that my mom had a heck of a lot to do with that. My dad was really big on instituting structure, so I've learned how to be structured thanks to him, and perhaps some of that structure helped me in my thinking. And my mom just taught me how to do research and how not to lean on other people, for all my answers. And so, but the really weird thing though about this is that my mom, however, allowed me to go to any church I wanted to. So if I told my mom I wanted to go to a Catholic church, she's like, okay, and I'll go. And usually it was with friends. So, and I had friends from so many different backgrounds. I've had, Muslim friends, I've had Jewish friends and Catholic friends and Baptists and Pentecostals, and I went to all these churches. And there's one thing I noticed at a very young age is that all of them had this invisible guy that they could not prove really existed. Every single one of them, and all of them are slightly different. And it wasn't until much later that I learned that even their books were different. As you know, 66 books in the King James Version, 72 in the Catholic Bible, and I was like, how in the world? And so I left for the military right around 18 years old, and I still had this belief that there was a higher power. I was leaning toward Christianity, but I knew something wasn't quite right. And even the pastors and my fellow choir team, they all knew something was wrong. And eventually I just walked away. And I kept coming back to different churches over the years. And eventually I guess you can say I just kind of kept moving further back until I just stopped coming in the door.
Stories are remarkably similar. It's really it's really amazing. I totally understand. I got it. I got the military background. I remember being at I think it's called the 50th ASG. I was in Fort Benning, the processing place.
Yep. I went to basic at Fort Benning. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there you go. 11 believes the But I remember having a very serious crisis because, I remember my first thing is that there was a stained glass window of a kneeling soldier in front of a cross. Now, the military, for those who don't know, at least from my experience, is overtly religious. Okay,
right.
At least, yeah, that's been my experience. So I was like, why would? And at the time, I was naive. I didn't know. I was ignorant. I didn't read the Bible yet and whatever. So why would God be involved in this organization, which is about killing? Because I thought God was the nicest thing ever. I thought God wanted peace. I thought God was like a hippie.
Right.
So So that was pretty disturbing, and I couldn't really express that to anybody because I was there with a bunch of strangers. And then once I was sent downrange, it was just all suffering, and I was just trying to hold on and graduate. And I remember, marching, and the drill sergeant would have us sing cadences about killing and stuff to desensitize us from
right.
what we were actually being trained to do, especially as infantrymen.
Exactly. Yep.
And I remember thinking to myself, I said, you know what? If I was in a combat situation and I did actually kill someone, would I be forgiven for that? And can I say that it was Drill Sergeant so-and-so that gave me the order to kill? I actually pondered that, and I did not have someone to bounce that idea off of. And back then, I think I just assumed that everybody thought the same thing about God. I thought that people had the same idea about God, like I did. And long story short, it wasn't until a training session that my platoon sergeant, his name is Sergeant North, and Sergeant North was the prototypical American white male, like love of God, the Christian soldier. I mean, that's him. So he was like, what do you mean? Like, he heard me talking to this one kid who was actually knowledgeable, a Puerto Rican guy named Juan, who went to FSU. I'll never forget it. Juan and I was spitting, we were talking philosophy, and Sergeant North overheard us, and he was like, what do you mean God doesn't like war? Did you hear about the Battle of Jericho? And I didn't know what he was talking about.
Yep.
And later on I learned, and my world has never been the same. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, wow. Like I said, I'm also, obviously I was at Fort Benning, so yeah, I was infantry as well, and they punish us if you didn't go to mass, right? You had to work kitchen patrol, right? If you had to clean the washroom at the barracks and stuff like that. I didn't realize that was wrong until many years later, because they brainwash you, and you're right. And so they don't train you to think. They say they want thinking soldiers. That's a lie. They want reflexively acting soldiers. If they can train you well enough to the point where you don't think, that's what they want. You're right. They don't want somebody saying, but am I going to go to heaven, though, if I blow this kid's head off? You know what I mean? They don't want you thinking like that. They want you to see. That's why they have all those nice little euphemisms for everything, right? It's a target. It's an enemy. It's a unit. And you name everything almost as if it's an inanimate object or machine. Nothing has a human. Nothing's personified. I mean, am I correct? Yeah.
No, you're correct. I went to basic, and check this out. I arrived December 31, 1998 at 11:50 p.m. So I spent New Year's 1999 in this space that forever changed my life. But I was amongst some of the toughest people I've ever met. I still have so much respect for them because of what I understand them to be now. But still, deep inside, the person that I am today was still there and could not be, I guess, brainwashed. I don't like that term, but brainwashed.
Or brain warped, yes.
Yeah, enough to, because I remember, and this is something that I tell very few people, we had a mass formation, and Drill Sergeant, I think it was Drill Sergeant Black, he said, like, who would be willing to blow somebody's head off, or who's not going to do it? And I was the only person that raised my hand in the company formation. I was in the back of it, but I visualized it. And one of the movies that made an impact on me as a person is Schindler's List, which my Jewish English teacher showed me, and I never forgot that movie. And Schindler's List was the first time that I saw what I know to be the most accurate representation of what the human body looks like when it's shot. And it's not a good thing. And so why would I be doing such a thing? Because I was one of the people that joined the military for college benefits.
Same here.
So I wasn't built for that kind of stuff. I appreciated the experience. I learned a lot. I have perspectives that very few people have. However, it is what it is. And for those people who criticize those aspects of the military, I'm like, right on, man. I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's not It's not a lie. It is what it is. So I don't recall ever being told that I'm valued for my mind. That's no.
No, not at all.
We're there to break things and kill people, especially for infantry. So
I'm going to tell you something. My communications sergeant, he pulled me out of rank one day. He said, "Finley, come with me." I was like, "Yes, Sergeant." He pulled me in and said, "What's going on, Sergeant?" He said, "Finley, have a seat." He said, "Mr. Finley, I'm going to tell you something." Oh, yeah, Mr. Finley. This is back then just Private Finley. Private Finley, I'm going to tell you something. He said, "You think too much." He said, "You are too smart to be a soldier. I'm going to train you to be my assistant commo chief. How do you like that?" Does that tell you something?
Oh, yeah.
He knew right away that he says, it wasn't that I was weak. I mean, I could outrun I could do more push-ups than anybody in the battalion. That wasn't even an issue. He could just tell my mind wasn't there, and he was like, nah. And I was forever thankful. He helped me see that there was more to me than even I thought for myself. And I'm never going to forget it. Staff Sergeant Woodland. I wonder where he is today. In fact, funny enough, he's actually the brother-in-law of Martin Lawrence. But anyway, I often wonder what happened to him, because he was more instrumental than he could ever know, helping me begin to break free of those chains. But he was a Mason himself, a pretty high-ranking Mason, and I think he wanted to get me involved in that. But I was obviously, if I'm not following, if I'm not a mindless follower in the military, why would I join the Masons? You know what I mean? So, but.
I got a Mason story involving the military too. So again, it's getting even more crazier by the second. So for those of you who are missing out on this live show, it's your loss. The guest calling number is 657-383-1619. The time is now 21:22. I can say that because I know you understand what that is. So I want to be respectful of the time. So you let me know. So I want to make sure I cover all the important topics, but we're deviating deliciously. Tomorrow is a big day, and I have special feelings about the current election. But how do you feel like secular issues, or like what is there? Does that play any role in what's going on right now?
None, absolutely none. In fact, it's been even pointed out that even religion is not even an issue in this election. In fact, this is probably one of the first elections in a long while in which religion hasn't been on the forefront. It's almost as if the Republicans know, and the conservative Republicans at that know. Donald Trump is not really religious, but they don't want to focus on that. And so this is the first time they realize that this is something they don't want to focus on because it's going to look bad for them. Donald Trump has stated over and over again that he doesn't really respect religion. He's not part of that, and yet all of a sudden, I have a good relationship with God. If you can't tell that this man is lying just by looking at him when he says that, something's wrong. So secular issues and religious issues, funny enough, seem to be off the plate within this election altogether. The main issue seems to be economics, and our status in the world and immigration. And these seem to be issues that I know Donald Trump seems to be focusing on. And I must admit, I'm not going to say who I voted for, but I will say I really cannot understand the logic of people voting for Donald Trump. I can say that for sure. You're right, election's coming up soon, and the fact that this man is even being considered seriously as a candidate really says volumes about the failure of our education system, and or it could be argued perhaps how desperate people are for really, really real dramatic change. I can't tell if it's from people on the racism side, but I'm sure they want change as well, or is it really just a common everyday person who may not even be racist, who is just simply tired of the same old, same old? And I think maybe that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of people who just want something completely different. They know that if Hillary gets in office, they're probably going to get the same. I mean, everybody knows Hillary. She says she's a Democrat. She acts like a Republican. So I think everyone's afraid that we're just going to get the same. And they're like, why not? And I think that's a bad approach to take. I'd rather take, 4 to 8 years or more of the same than to have a president in office who, and we've all seen what he does. Devalues women, threatens allies, threatens to break away and not support our allies, talks about how he's going to cut ties from China, how he's going to build walls, and all these horrible things he's talking about doing, which he cannot possibly institute, by the way. You know, for people to still follow this man after these wild claims and dramatic claims and unsubstantiated and supported claims he makes is scary. I'm just, this election alone has terrified me to no end. So something's really, really wrong with how we understand what evidence is and how to properly look at evidence and how to evaluate and look at how we make decisions. Evaluate how we make decisions. Something's wrong.
I totally agree 1,000%. One of the things that you mentioned that's bouncing in my head that I think would help that you're teaching your students is critical thinking. We don't have to agree, but if I can, let's say we were having a discussion, we have different perspectives on a given topic. If I can articulate, especially if I have some evidence, why I think option X is better than option Y, right, then that would be something.
Exactly.
And I'm very much, I guess in a way, embarrassed to be associated with. I am an American by modern
I understand
standards,
what you mean.
But I've actually deployed to Iraq, and I bought into the whole notion of fighting for freedom and all those things. And I've actually gone to Europe, and I was told not to say that, one, I was American, and two, that I was a soldier because of how we're perceived overseas.
Indeed.
And then to come back to the United States and to, go through the Bush years, and now to have Mr. Donald Trump be on the precipice of possibly becoming president.
I would have Bush back any day if compared to Trump.
I think it's like, I don't know. It's like, it's not fear. I don't know how to describe it. I'm in a bubble, okay, because I don't interact with Trump people. I cannot begin to even speak to them to try to understand. I get the exoticness, the whole he maybe straight shooter, whatever the case is. But the bottom line is this. I feel that it just speaks to enough American people's values to have them in place. So someone like you and I, we value certain things that we have in common. So I would want I want someone that's so ridiculously brilliant that I need to walk around with a dictionary to say, like, what the hell did he just say? Or what the hell did she just say? Because every time I leave, after I hear this person speak, my IQ goes up. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed. Oh, I agree totally. 100%. And honestly, if I may, I think this is one reason why President Obama, not only because he's black, but I think this is one reason why he left behind and created so much hatred among some people, because he is articulate. He is very intelligent. I think he does leave behind many people who watched him speak, and he dazzled them to the point of frustration, I think, and they decide they don't want to listen anymore. Like, I think what they've done is convinced themselves that he's an idiot because they don't understand him. And you hear this a lot. I'll be on YouTube watching a video and President Obama says something that's on point, articulate, and, I mean, just amazing talk. And you see all this racist stuff. Oh, he's such an idiot. Like, what? Were you listening to the same speech that I was listening to? But anyway, I'm sorry I interrupted you, but yeah.
No, I'm there with you. I personally believe that for such an important position, supposedly a top flight country,
right?
The person, do you know Angela Merkel's credentials? You know Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau is able to speak about science intelligently.
Right.
I don't know if you've heard him speak, but there are some people
in Canada, Mm-hmm.
There are some people that if Donald Trump represents, God forbid, you or I at a formal dinner, no.
Right. Oh, no way. I remember, I've seen Trudeau, and everybody's like, can he be our president? I mean, and it's a shame. And he's really just, in many respects, almost a white Obama. But it's just the fact that he has a white face, that he probably would take better here. That kind of passion for people and honesty and openness. And and we need that here. We really do need more of that here. But I don't know what's going to happen. We shall see. I doubt Trump's going to win unless there's some cheating going on. But now it sounds like Donald Trump, so never mind.
Okay. Well, this is, one of the big things that we touched upon earlier is how much technology has influenced the ability for people from different walks of life to find each other. In the secular world, it's made it easier for people to date, and it's just wonderful. I'm doing this show, and I'm trying to do some more stuff eventually in Haitian Creole. One of the things that intimidates me, to be quite honest with you, is trying to put out quality information, factual information, in a space where material is very limited in Haitian Creole. The French, my French is not very good, but there's material in the French world that people can find. But the thing is, in our situation as Haitians, if you are able to go to school and get formal education, a lot of it has to be private, which means money. And so you have a smaller group of people that's able to get a classic education. And if you are getting educated, they're getting educated in French. And I'm just not able to produce French material right now. I probably will be able to find it and then send it to someone. But most of us actually speak Creole, and I feel like that's really what I really want to do ultimately. But the thing is, with technology, back in the home country, being the economic situation, not everybody has access to YouTube and stuff like that. So by the time, even if I made 500 shows like your awesome program, how many people are going to be able to get a hold of it? So that's I'm very basically kind of amazed about is that, and this is the question I'm asking you, why is it in 2016, with all this information that's available, are we still talking about whether or not evolution is true or not, if climate change true or not?
I think one problem with that is that because there's a lot of disinformation out there as well. In fact, I had my students, we thought of a lot of different controversial topics, and I said, now do a quick Google search and look at the first 5 results. In almost every single one of those websites, whether it's acupuncture, remote viewing, the origin of AIDS, you name it, all those weird things out there in La La Land, all those results were pages arguing for the ridiculous non-scientific side. I said, so imagine if you have a population of people who have no clue how to do research. They see these results, and they think that they are true. And the arguments sound convincing because they're looking at them in a vacuum of ignorance. And so they're looking at these arguments, and they think they sound good because they're using sciencey talk. And they go out there arguing these positions from these 2-bit websites that have no credentials, no expertise in them. And I think that's what we're dealing with, and that's what we're battling. In fact, I'm writing a book related to this issue because there's a lot of dangerous stuff out there as well. There are a lot of natural cancer cures and treatments out there, and people are Googling because for monetary reasons, they're going out there trying to save money, and they're looking at these natural cures, and they're buying these things from anywhere from $1 to $10,000 treatments. And they think it's a deal because if they were to go through traditional treatments, they would be spending $65,000 to $150,000. So they are now going to the internet for medical advice, and people are dying. And so my research, I'm planning on finishing our book, and if I can get the money up, I probably won't be able to, but I want to finish my PhD, and that's some of the research I want to do is actually looking now at the actual damage, because we know that there have been instances. The problem is we don't know how great it is that people are dying, and because they are now looking at bad information on the internet. So if people are out there, getting spinach enemas to get rid of their stage 3 colon cancer, you better believe they're going to the internet to discover, the truth about Clinton's emails. They're going to the internet about, everything about evolution, all the arguments against evolution and how it's false from creation ministries. They don't know how to evaluate evidence, and that begins with good teachers helping to show them how to do that. I decided a few weeks ago to spend an entire week not even in the curriculum, the traditional curriculum, I should say, with the county. Again, luckily they gave me flexibility, but I decided to spend an entire week with my students on nothing but how to properly evaluate research online. That's all we did.
Okay, well, I mean, luckily for them, they're getting exposed to that, but where does the average Joe student get that?
And they're not. And it's a dangerous problem. And I think until educators and administrators realize that this is a serious problem. This isn't just the silly internet. No, this is bad. And now we see the effects of this. We thought that maybe only the dumbest of the dumb are falling for this. No, they're not. It's the desperate of the desperate, the tired of the tired. The ignorant. That's what's happening. It's not like these people have no brains. It's just that they don't know. They were never taught to how to evaluate what is true and what's not. And maybe a part of my efforts in my book is I'm going to talk about that. There's going to be a chapter devoted to how do we affect the politics of this. But it could be the reality, and the scary reality is they don't want that.
Who doesn't want that?
Big question. Well, I don't want to get into conspiracy theories here, but let me put it this way. If every single American was probably as knowledgeable as you and I would think we would see a completely different world. But do the powers that be, the ones that control our education system, do they really want people like us running things? I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I remember when I was researching about the possibility of donating my passion towards education, I thought, maybe naively, I was projecting whatever, that the people in position were as passionate, were as, wanting to give, because you understand, I'm an immigrant. I came from Haiti. Where we come from, education is like, how people like sweat Jordans and stuff like that.
Right.
It's like, wow, you go to school, wow, your parents must love you because the tuition was right. Taxing, and it was one of those things where, like, when the person is educated, they try to, speak that fancy French, and it's a big deal. I came to the United States, and I'll never forget this. My cousin and I were walking to middle school, and then he was kind of like basically dissing me because I'm actually trying to get A's. And then the culture is permeated with that kind of stuff. So, but that's at the student level. But if people are telling me that at the highest levels, we have CEOs of corporations and these nefarious underpinnings where people have modeled the educational system supposedly after what's the name of the German, there's some system where it's made just for people to build, for the students to be just robotic, just to obey, if you will, and not necessarily question and all that kind of thing, then it's not a conspiracy theory because there's data that can support that perspective. And also we can show by what we're putting out because, like how America talks about how we want to be number one in the world. We're not number one in the world in the important.
No, we're not. In fact, many of our agreed. And in fact, many of the PhDs that come out with really good research are people that come over here with a green card, right? They go to our schools, they work for a little bit, and then they go back to their home countries, heroes, and we're like, then Donald Trump, for instance, is like, oh, we need tighter controls on immigration, and we need all this. And when in reality is, if it wasn't for immigration in many respects, our economy would not even be where it is. Our advances in science may not even be where they currently are if it wasn't for people in other countries. Because the U.S. is really, don't get me wrong, we have some really good programs out there. We have really wonderful Americans getting PhDs in a wide variety of fields. But engineering, isn't where it needs to be, and quite a number of other fields. I can talk about that for a while too. But yeah, so we're lacking in many different areas. And again, it could be a fluke. Like you said before, when we earlier instituted our educational system, we were trying to mirror other systems that we thought worked. But we were looking, this was a time when we were looking at educating people for particular jobs. This wasn't really about educating people to think more deeply about their world. And so when you look at it from that perspective, and then when we're kind of stuck in that rut where we haven't really revolutionized our thinking, then we're just going to keep producing the same kind of, the same quality of people, and type of thinkers that we've always had. And I don't know. I challenged my students about this too a couple of weeks ago. I said, think about it. If you had hundreds of trillions of dollars and you could fashion a country or a world the way you wanted it, would you want everybody in your world to be highly educated? And I made them think about that. As if you could control things, how would you want things? And some of them said, wow, this really led me into kind of a dark area. Because they started thinking about economics. They started thinking about what are the means of production and who's going to run it and who's going to do this, and would somebody with a PhD want to clean sewers, and so we were talking about that. We're talking about free education and how that will work, and why is there so much pushback on free education, and all that kind of came into play, and it really led us into some really good conversations about maybe there really is some kind of conscious resistance against us becoming the best we can be as human beings in this country, if not the world.
Definitely, and with the internet, you would think that it shouldn't be as easy to keep that plan intact. But I mean, like you said, there's white noise and misinformation out there, and people are falling for it. In fact, I'm going to go on a limb and say that you know who this person is. Do you know who Peter Popoff is?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. In fact, I introduced my students last year to him in part of my Nature of Science demonstration. Lecture talking about how we fool ourselves and how do we know what science is. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So Peter Popoff came to the Marriott Marquis downtown Atlanta, and I was working, and I saw a long line of desperate people. You can clearly see that they were desperate. And I wanted to do something unprofessional, drastic, but I was in my professional capacity. And I couldn't really do anything about it. And I, like you said, I've matured since my early days. And I just felt sad that he was still functioning.
He's back.
But he's a product of the general, I guess, the essence of what's today, what's valued, and as long as that sort of stuff is in the air, then there's going to be the pop-offs. Like to me, Ray Comfort is like a pop-off. There's other people who are making money off people.
People's ignorant.
And we are looked at as the bad guys because we're saying, critical thinking, challenge us even, but like I'm the kind of person that I would like to at least only come forth with information that I know is correct to the best of my ability, and not be scared because you can cross-reference what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? That would be the best possible situation. But alas, that's not the way that it is. So going back to myself, and what I think about what I would like to donate to the world, and Haitian people in particular, I'm like, gosh, like, where do I even begin? Because again, access to information is not as great. Then you have a language issue. So, but why is the United States still dragging behind Sweden, Japan, Denmark, New Zealand, Australia? I mean, even Turkey. I think even Turkey has a lower rate of believing in creationism, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think we're just above Turkey in the public's acceptance of evolutionary theory and evolution as a fact. Yes.
So I want to say what gives, but I kind of sort of know the answer, and it's kind of depressing. I guess that's why I keep asking it. But for those who don't know what you're talking about, let's just be just dumb and say, when you say proper research, especially when it comes to internet, when to find out any given thing,
right?
What do you mean by that? How would they know if they find good information?
Well, it's funny. A new technique I do, I was explaining this to my students. Usually when you hear a claim that sounds kind of unbelievable, someone else has probably looked at that too and probably done all the research for you. So I remind them, what you do is type in whatever that factoid is, and after it, type in hoax or myth or is it true or something like that with a question mark, and you'll be surprised that there will be people who've already done research, scholars out there, maybe even award-winning journalists, whatever, and then you can track down their sources as well. And so I teach them how to do that. And, of course, like Wikipedia, for instance, I tell them there's nothing wrong with using Wikipedia. A lot of high schools and colleges have steered a lot of their students away from that, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with you using Wikipedia. The issue is you need to make sure that you look at their resources, okay? And so that's where I show them how to look at that. I show them how to use open access journals, how to look at an open access journal, how to pull out the information, how to read an abstract, and how to look at what the conclusions mean and how to interpret that information. And I explained to them that the vast majority of, I should say the vast majority, but a large number of sites out there or individuals that claim that their scientific research supports or the scientific research supports their idea, when you actually look at the website, you look at the actual paper, I should say, it doesn't support their position, but they know that the vast majority of the public will just, if they even know that there's such a thing called research, they'll see a link down there and go, oh, look, see, a university study. I don't need to look any further, right? And unfortunately, our time is precious these days, right? So we're used to getting instant gratification, and, it's very difficult for us to want to dig deeper. But so that's what, when I talk about doing proper research, that's what I'm talking about. I tell them, follow your sources to the root, find out who said what and why they said it, when they said it, and then you can verify if it's true by just looking up actual surveys, data, statistical analyses and whatnot, or if you want to do a quick shortcut just to see if you're on the right path, like I said, just Google that same concept and type in hoax or myth. One of my colleagues at my job said she believes in Bigfoot. And she said, all this evidence is out there and blah, 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 blah. And I said, did you ever type in Bigfoot hoax or myth or scam or lack of evidence or anything else like that afterwards? And she was like, well, no. I said, then of course then you'll never hear the other side. So I teach them how your own biases can affect how you do research as well.
Confirmation bias.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what I do. And it's a lot. And some of my students say, wow, Mr. Finley, that's a lot of work. I said, well, it is, but if you want to know the truth is, you're going to have to put in, and all it takes is maybe 5 to 15 minutes to get a really good, idea of whether or not your idea is either most likely true or probably not true. And that's all it takes. Most people, they see an idea. I remember the other day, my wife and there's this website called, I think, Blacks That Support Trump or something on Facebook, right? And they had this image of Denzel Washington on there saying that he has decided to vote for Trump. And my immediate instinct was, well, I know there are some black celebrities that do, so I didn't really doubt it, like, outright. I just kind of went, oh, there's another one. What the hell? And then my wife said, I don't know if I believe that. And it hit me, and I was like, crap, I didn't check. And then, sure enough, I typed in Denzel Washington voting for Trump, and I think I typed in myth or fake or hoax or whatever. And sure enough, the first result was a Snopes.com link, showing that it was a myth, that this man, he did not openly support Trump. And so this is what I'm talking about, right? Sometimes things can be like opposed law. Sometimes things sound like it could be true, so why not? But what happens is other folks who may not have decided to do their research, especially people that are heavily influenced by celebrities, they could go, well, you know what? Denzel is doing it. I love Denzel. He's a smart man. Maybe there's something he doesn't know that I don't know. I'm voting for Trump too.
Yep.
As scary as that sounds, there will be people who would do that.
Right. It's a tried and true formula that I've fallen for. It does work.
Right.
The time is now 21:50. Again, I'm appreciative of your time. I'm having a good time. You let me know. I want to get to some topics.
Yeah, about 10 more minutes, then I gotta head out here. But yeah, we can go for 10 more.
Okay, so in the beginning, people of color were very rare. What's your assessment of the situation right now? I know you kind of like stepping back and doing your education thing, but like it's a lot more prominent. Have the numbers gone up? What's your take on that?
Oh, sorry, I missed the first half of that. On what now?
People of color in the secular world. Is it?
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's no doubt it's going up, and I'm glad you brought us back there because I want to talk about this. There's a huge problem I'm seeing with a lot of young, Black Americans, African Americans, whatnot in the movement, and I'm seeing a lot of impatience, and I'm seeing a lot of militant anger, I guess, that maybe I was victim of as well when I first started. But I am seeing a lack of critical thinking, though. I'm seeing a lot of angry atheists, people that felt like, wow, I was duped all this time, I'm angry, but yet they still don't know how to really have a pleasant conversation with someone about these ideas. They come across, some of them, very harsh, very angry, very almost vindictive in some instances, and I don't think that's what we want. You know what I mean? When we're trying to show the world that we are thinkers, I don't want to say better than you, but we aren't like you. We're not going to not like you because of your position, and I think the problem is I'm seeing more and more of that. A lot of anger, and the critical thinking aspect isn't there. It's almost like it's a fad, and I don't know how to fix that. Maybe there are not enough old heads, in there helping guide these youngsters, but many of them don't want to be guided, and I just have serious concerns about the image that they're giving atheists in general when they do these kind of things. You see them online yelling, calling every single religious person stupid and idiots, and I'm like, what do you expect to gain by doing that? And I'm seeing far too much of it, and I know that cannot be helping our cause. It can't be helping Black free thinkers and agnostics and and atheists out there when we're by them doing this. And so I'm a little worried that, and again, I think that goes back to that lack of critical thinking in their homes and evaluating evidence and learning and knowing how to have good and proper discussions about things we disagree about. Those things weren't taught. Can you imagine being taught all your life, just obey, just obey, just obey, and then one day you look at zeitgeist on the internet and you go, crap, I don't believe any of this crap. Well, what do you have? You were taught all your life to obey. So all you know is I'm not going to obey. Now it's like I think I'm seeing a lot of the youngsters just doing the antithesis now, almost like a retaliatory kind of mechanism. And because there weren't those elements that gave them that foundation of rationality there in the beginning, again, I'm just seeing still a lot of thought and rationality and just a lot of anger. And I can't blame them for being angry, but can we have a decent, rational conversation with people? And I'm seeing more and more people leaving religion, but still buying also into supernaturalism. That's really heavy. I'm seeing also in the Black community. You'll see a lot of people saying now, "Oh, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious."
Right.
What the hell does that mean? So they've now decided I'm leaving the church in some regard, but I still am, they still believe in God in some way. What does that even mean? And I've noticed there's still a huge lack of, again, rationality and critical thinking there, because they're still holding on to unproven things, and things with no evidence. So I'm a little concerned about where that's going. I don't know if it's going to improve or get worse, but I have noticed that. And I've been in chat rooms where I've seen them just beat up a Christian. A Christian can come in and just asking a question. So like, hey guys, my name is Sally. I'm a Christian. I'm 17, and I'm just curious about atheism. I don't quite understand. How can you not believe in God? Get out, you white bee. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, how did we get there? You know what I mean? And I'm just seeing, but we could talk about that in general, about the entire internet culture, when it comes to comments. You see that across the board where there's just no etiquette there, and but there's also again there's a lack of empathy there I'm seeing, and a huge lack of, like I said, reason and rationality and critical thought. And I don't know. I think our education system will help big with that if we can just get the right structure implemented and show how do we really dialogue with people. Maybe we need an internet etiquette course. I know that at my school we have that actually. The school I teach at, one of my colleagues, he teaches basically internet etiquette.
Wow. I mean, one of the things that we take for granted, but yeah, it's a great course to have. I didn't even think about it. I probably have some etiquette that I need to pick up. The time is getting short, so I want to hit you with these two questions / comments or whatever, just to get your thoughts on these things. The first one is because we promote critical thinking and everything, but sometimes critical thinking does things that are unexpected or unpleasant even to us. So, do you have an example of basically how through the process of critical thinking, whatever, it kind of ruined something that was kind of, I guess, pleasant for you, if you will?
No, not really. No, I mean, as a researcher, as someone who researches all the time, there are going to always be minor upsets. Again, minor things you thought something was right and then you discovered it was wrong, but nothing that just crumbled your entire worldview. I think me leaving religion was the biggest thing for me. I haven't had any other upsets as big as that ever since that. So when it comes to critical thinking, I guess I hope I'm answering your question properly because I can't think of anything in that regard. Now, if you're trying to say, can critical thinking be used incorrectly? Sure, in some degree based on biases, but yeah, in my experience, I can't really think. I mean, I never really bought into unicorns and dragons and devils and demons and aliens. Well, you know what? I must say this one. Here's one for you. I remember looking at the Drake equation, and by the way, for the listeners who aren't familiar with that, it's simply a calculation that speculates what the probability would be of life being elsewhere in the universe. And I remember thinking, as I began to become more of a critical thinker, I said, wait a minute, what other life forms do we have to compare that, to make that a valid, estimate? Like the only life we know of is here on this planet. And so I remember realizing, because I had a long belief in aliens, to believe to the point of I thought I just knew aliens existed in the universe. And I had to realize philosophically that, really, we don't really know. All we know is that there's life here on this planet. That's all we know. That doesn't mean there is no life else out there, but that's all we know. And so I remember realizing that, and I was kind of like, I wanted this world. I really wanted there to be aliens. But now I realize, we really just don't know. And that's okay. And I think learning that you're ignorant about certain things and learning how to make that okay is a huge challenge. And, and I think people should continuously strive to fill those gaps of knowledge, but don't fill it with assumptions and superstition and, in ignorance. Try to fill it with verifiable facts and knowledge so that you can pass on that information to the next generation. And hopefully in the future we'll have a world that we can all be proud of and in which we're finally thinking and living our lives and dictating our politics and our economies based on science and reason and logic and evidence and not selfishness and ignorance.
Okay, beautiful. Last thing, time is running out. I wanted multiple claims, but what is one claim in Christianity and one claim in Islam that is easily shown to be untrue without the use of researching into a computer or whatever? I'm talking about a casual conversation that you can possibly say, well, you can't, this cannot be done because X, Y, Z. So I'm looking for something very easy that laymen would possibly accept. That's my last point.
Well, interesting. You know, I've had these conversations like this for years, and I mean, there's only a few I've found effective. I mean, one is this concept that God loves everybody. You know, I don't think it's in the Bible per se, or maybe it is, I don't know, but they say that, you know, God loves everyone. And when I ask people to kind of look at the world, what is it about this world that you see that shows that there's a loving father figure up there that cares about everyone? Point that thing out to me and show me. And they'll point to small little things, and then I say, so if these little things prove then that there's a God because they're so awesome, so all these negative things then must prove that there isn't one? You know, and I think that bothers them somewhat. I know one thing in particular in the Bible I remember discovering, and I remember telling friends about this one, and it was the idea that they kept spreading this story that Satan challenged God and fell from the heavens, a discarded angel, and rejected by God because he wanted to become God. And I was shocked to discover that when I read the Bible in its entirety and really began to understand it, that really that was not what that story was all about. And the Bible actually talks about other gods. And I remember sharing that, with other Christians before, and they were like, I didn't even know that. I thought that passage, my pastor told me that for years. I thought that's what that was. You know, and of course it turned out, not to be the case. But it goes on and on and on. But I do have a website in which I talk about these things. It's called questionsaboutgod.com. Okay. And so if some of your listeners want to check that out, it's called questionsaboutgod.com. I've also created a Facebook page as well called questionsaboutgod.com. Someone took Questions About God on Facebook, so mine is questionsaboutgod.com on Facebook. So again, they can go to Facebook or they can go to questionsaboutgod.com and check out all those questions. And many of those are questions sent in by listeners from over the years they had about Yahweh. And in Islam, one of the biggest issues I had with Islam was that whole issue with, and I would say disprove anything because, I could easily, like the Prophet, that was in Hadith, but Muhammad flying to the moon on the back of a flying horse. Of course, he would have died from lack of oxygen or froze to death before he even got up there. But anyway, there are tons of stuff, like, as you know, and I'd love to recommend, if your listeners are not aware, to also check out skepticsannotatedbible.com. That website has tons of good stuff in there about Islam, the Mormon Church, I believe now as well, and the King James Version. Tons of stuff in there that people may not be aware of. And I've always asked my fundamentalist Muslim friends this. I said, so what do men get when they get to heaven? And usually they'll give you their spill based on their particular sect of Islam. And then I say, okay, what do women get? And there's usually dead silence.
I think I've asked that question.
Yeah.
And it's very unimpressive. If whatever they say, it must be unimpressive because I don't remember anything. And to be quite honest, the Christian version of heaven is very underwhelming too, because they can't go into depth about it because it hasn't really been expressed. But
right, yeah. Again, and honestly, and again, my focus is not on religion anymore. So that's why I just update my website periodically. I used to debate that stuff at the back of my hand. Nowadays, I don't really care anymore. So my whole purpose and my goal really is to promote scientific reasoning, rationality, critical thinking, and really love and peace for all mankind. That is my goal, because people are going to believe what they want to believe for the most part, but if you can teach them how to question themselves, then that's really where it all begins.
I mean, I couldn't say it better myself. Wow. This is probably the best show I've ever done as far as interviews. I want to let you know straight up. So I'm very happy that we were able to get together ever since that time that we met. I don't know if you remember, it's been like 5 years.
Of course I remember. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So I thank you for everything. Thank your wife for everything she's
doing. I know,
doing.
right? She's been so quiet. She's been sitting here just quietly working on other things, listening. So she's awesome.
So say hi to her for me. Again, so the time is now 22:05. We're going to let Reggie go. This has been the Haitian Free Thinkers radio show here on Block Talk Radio. Hopefully, in the future, we can discuss some specifics at a more.
Yes, I would love to come back. And also, if they want to find out more about me, like my whole history and what I'm about, they can also check me out at reginaldfinley.com. I have my whole bio up there and some of the research I've done about GMOs and a few other things. And my educational background's up there, and even a few articles I've written and research papers and other things. So check me out at reginaldfinley.com. It's really the hub for all my websites. Okay,
reginaldfinley.com. I have to write that down too. Okay, so reginaldfinley.com, that's the main website for him. He's about educating, peace, love, and everything positive. So I don't know what the believers are talking about, but I think we're on the right team, doing the right thing. So for the rest of you who were unable to catch the show live, my next show will be whenever I can schedule it. Just check out the group Haitian Free Thinkers on Facebook. I'd like to say that it's going to be next Monday night, but I'm not sure. I'm trying to get an interview with somebody else. I met somebody, Reggie, who is a member of this Christian sect that I've never heard of before. Basically, he believes that Jesus Christ came back in the form of a Korean guy, and there's a Korean woman who is called Mother Queen of Heaven or something like that. Very
interesting.
Oh
my gosh! Why? Okay.
Very, very nice guy. I might visit his church because just like you, I visited different people. But anyways, he's the next person I'm trying to get on. But until then, this has been the Haitian Free Thinkers radio show. We'll look for you next time, and have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Run to Old Navy right now. All Old Navy Active is buy one, get one free 2 days only, today and tomorrow. That's right, your favorite workout wear is all buy one, get one free. Better hurry, it's just today and tomorrow at Old Navy. Valid 114 to 115 in stores only.
Delivery from Staples.
Staples guy. More storage bins? Great.
Yeah, and you saved a ton with Staples' 110% price match guarantee.
I am resolved to getting organized this year. Now everything is boxed up and put away.
Whoa. What was that?
Oh, no. I boxed up Paul again.
Resolve to get organized and get 20% off select office supplies. Staples. Make more happen.
Applies to regular priced items only. Excludes ink and toner. Other restrictions may apply. Ends 1/14/17. Staples will match prices for items from retailers with online and retail stores and refund 10% of difference. See store staples.com for details.